So want to learn how to remove a lead in Photoshop? Well, that's what we're going to look at in today's video, so be sure to stick around. So removing a lead is super important, or can be super handy if you have maybe a dog that won't keep still, or if you have a little puppy. You can help them pose by holding a lead. Today I'm going to show you 3 techniques of how to remove that lead. I'm also going to show you the best way to position it, and also where to avoid putting the lead to make it as easy as possible for you guys to remove it. So let's jump into Photoshop and take a look at the 3 techniques that I'm going to teach you guys today. Alright, so this is the image that we're going to be working on today. This little guy is Jackson. He's my friend's new puppy. So what you want to try and do when working with a dog on a lead is you want to try and get the lead straight above the head or slightly to the side like we have here, or you can come over to the side here or this sort of side. Things that you want to try and avoid is having the lead wrapping around the dog. So you have all these highlights and shadows and the patch on his chest. If it was coming around him, you'd have to try and match all of those up, and it's going to make your job a lot more difficult. Whereas if we've got it coming across the head, coming up above the head here, it's going to be a lot easier to remove. So over on the right hand side, that's one of our layers, or that's the main layer. We don't want to work on that one because we don't want to affect that layer. So what we're going to do is create a copy of it, and by how we do that is by pressing Ctrl J. And now that's created a copy for us. Over on the left hand side is where we have our tools, and the things that we're going to use today is the cloning stamp, the spot removal tool or the spot healing tool, and the patch tool. So first of all, what I'm actually going to do is zoom in so you guys can see, and then we're simply going to start with the patch tool. So obviously this is the lead that we want to remove, so we're going to click around here. So click on the left trigger of your mouse and then just drag it down, and then we're going to drag it back up, and we're basically creating a link, and then we just let go, and now we've got these marching ants. That's a selection, and then all we're going to do is then just drag this to where we would want to copy. Obviously we wouldn't want to copy this over here, that's far too dark, and over here is too green. We want to simply just come over to the side a little bit, and all we're going to do is let go of the mouse, and now the computer is going to do its magic and get rid of the lead. So to get rid of the marching ants, all we're going to do is press Ctrl D, and that's deselected that area. So that's what the computer has done. So there's your before, there's your after, there's your before, and there's your after. Not done a bad job. I suppose we could come in a little bit later and remove this little bit here, but for now I'm quite happy with that. Again, so we're going to go over to the left hand side, and then this time we're going to use the spot healing tool. Super simple. All we're going to do is just paint over the top of the lead like that, and the computer is going to think about where it needs to remove, and it's going to remove it for us. Super simple. Okay, it's not done a great job, but again we can come in. So there's your before, there's your after. We can come in, so you have this line down here. We can come in a second, we'll remove that, so I'll show you how to do that with the cloning stamp. So the cloning stamp is now what we're going to use. So at the top of the screen you have opacity and flow. Flow is how strong the cloning stamp is going to be. So I'm simply just going to show you how strong this would be. So by pressing Alt on your keyboard and then selecting an area, so by tapping this area here, that's where I'm going to make a copy. So if I was to paint over Jackson's ear, that's basically the strength of the cloning stamp that I'm using. And then if I was to turn it down to something like 6, and then again if I just Alt and then just paint over his ear like that, see how it's a lot more gentle than when it was at 100%. So as you start to get close to things, or you don't want the strength to be quite as high, that's where you can use the flow tool just there. So this little bit is where we want to remove here. So if we get the cloning stamp back up, and then all we're going to do is select an area that we want to clone, and then we're simply going to start painting over that area. Something to be aware of is, because this is a soft edge brush, as I start to get closer to Jackson's ear, I want to be careful that I don't then start drifting over onto his ear. So a way to avoid that is if we use a hard brush, But again, you want to be careful with a hard brush because it's going to give you hard edges, so you can see that's very obvious just there. But it's going to work better for this little section because I'll show you why. So all we're going to do is just gently paint above his head like this, and I'm doing this super quick, and in a second I'll show you how we can get rid of those horrible lines that we've got there. And then all we're going to do is go back to the soft edge tool, and again we're going to take a selection of somewhere, and then we're simply just going to paint over those edges. Just make the brush a little bit bigger just to help that fade in. Again, you guys want to take your time with this. I'm trying to rush just for the sake of the video. And then there we have it. We can select, we can make the brush, actually I'll show you before and after, and then I'll zoom out and then I'll correct anywhere that's not looking too good. So there's your before, there's your after, there's your before, there's your after. I have actually caught his ear a little bit just there. That's quite a hard line, so you're not going to see this when we've zoomed out, so I can get rid of that little bit just there. Alright, so let's zoom out and then take a look at what we've got. So we've got a slightly hardish, you wouldn't know if you were to see that image, I don't think you would know that that had been removed, but for the sake of just showing you how to do it. So this line that we've got here, again if we go over to the cloning stamp, we simply make a real big brush, and then again I've even forgot where it was because it's not that obvious. Okay, so it's just there. So we want to clone, so Alt again, and then all we're going to do is simply just colour around, and that's going to get rid of that line that we had just there. We've got one coming down just here, again Alt, and then we're simply just going to colour over it, and that's going to soften any lines that we had. Again, there's your before, there's your after. We'll zoom out, and there you have it. That's your before and there's your after.
So there you have 3 super easy ways to remove a lead in Photoshop. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and press the bell to notify you guys of any up and coming videos. If you want to help your subject stand out or pop from the background, then be sure to watch this video here. And guys, I will see you soon.